Well, heartbreak then for the Warriors of Zimbabwe, but it is delight for Egypt, led by their star man Salah, with the winning goal late in the game to break the hearts of many Zimbabweans. After Zimbabwe had taken the lead 1-0 in this encounter, Egypt came back with an equalizer, a rocket from Mamouche, and it was Salah at the end that made the difference here for Egypt to pick up their first victory in their opening match of AFCON as they seek an 8th AFCON victory and an 8th star in the Africa Cup of Nations. We've been watching the match with Willard Katsande as well as Coach Thabo Senong. While Willard dries his eyes for now, I'll let Coach Thabo Senong take us through the match. Coach, what did you make of that finish? But what a game, though. As much as Zimbabwe might be disappointed, but it's been a thriller there in Agadir.
Very entertaining game, Tabiso. Very tough one to take for Zimbabwe because they gave their all on the pitch, especially the players. But on the Egyptian side, you look at them tactically, they were very flexible. I mean, having to change their formation from 4-2-3-1 into 4-3-3 with 1-6, just to make sure that they've got 2 10s in the vertical half spaces with Omar Mamouche and also Zizou. And then that created a lot of problems for Zimbabwe, especially the 2 defensive midfielders of Zimbabwe in Reinhard Fabish and Marvelous Nakamba. And that's where we just felt that Zimbabwe applied some good footballing actions, but sometimes you need to maintain those actions for longer periods. That's what we call tactical endurance. Yeah. Like we were talking off air with Willard, that they did some good things, but maybe lost a bit of concentration. You'd see Fabish now advancing as if he's an attacking midfielder. And then once you give Egypt spaces ngata, and then they will hurt you because Egypt is a highly technical team. Don't give them time and space on the ball.
Yeah, before we talk about what went wrong, Willard, tell us how you are feeling right now.
Yeah, obviously I'm gutted because at some point I thought, okay, we conceded 1. Okay, can we get a point? You know, at the same time, if you're playing a high technical team like Egypt, and you're 1-1 in 84 minutes, what do you look for? You look for for a draw.
Yes.
So I feel like critical phase of the game killed us. In 2019, it was the same thing. 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, we conceded. So small details decide the matches, you know. So you should have controlled it better, and maybe you should have made a better substitution or maybe delaying substitution in terms of taking your time to change, to kill the momentum, because I feel like we suffered in those moments. Yeah, I mean,
And which substitutions specifically are you talking about? Because there was an early one in the second half and then a late one there towards the end.
I will look into maybe both early and late, because, you know, early, Navaya was doing well, giving us those kind of press, a little bit of energy going forward.
Yes.
Maybe it's an injury, I don't know, but if you are to change in that, because prior to the goal, Egypt were all over us. So meaning that those spaces, our spaces, you should have consolidated with Padera. You understand? If you take out a striker, can you put a midfielder so that he can help Mave?
Yes.
Mave, because Fabish was leaving Mave sometime.
Yes.
You know, you need a character to say, Fabish, don't go. I'm here, you know. But Mave is a shy, quiet boy who always talk by playing. He's a leader by playing, you know. So I feel in the last substitution, put a defender. And a player has to walk out or even sit on the ground. Tell the Jalai to sit on the ground. Kill the momentum of Egypt. Could we see that Egypt is coming or go gun blazing because they want to win? You can see even when they put Zizou in the center, they want to take the game to Zimbabwe. So as a coach, also tactically, you need to be strong.
Which is what we were talking about in the break. As much as they were leading, but they had to manage the game properly. Does it talk to maybe a new coach coming in before AFCON and maybe not understanding what needs to be done, or maybe the players not understanding the tactics and how he wants to play, or maybe he's still not sure how he wants to play with this team since it's still new?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you don't really know what happened, Tabiso, but coaches do send tactical instructions into players. And I've been at this situation at AFCON, and sometimes because of the pressure and the inexperience of some players, and then some players will just break the lines early, some players will lose shape, some players will just give the opponent space and time. You know, things that maybe the coach didn't really encourage. And this is where now you can see the difference between experienced team and a non-experienced team. But again, I look at Zimbabwe, especially having been absent in the previous AFCON, how they apply themselves from a mentality point of view, a qualitative point of view, the likes of Bojalai, Emmanuel, how Nakamba showed positional awareness today. I say there is still hope. They can still surprise the likes of Angola and South Africa.
Whoa, and even South Africa. Coach Thabo Senong, I hope you take that back before the end of the show. But let's take a look then at what the numbers are telling us about this encounter, because probably one of the best games we've seen at this AFCON so far. It's still early stages, but what a thriller we've had here. As expected, before the game, we mentioned that Egypt was expected to play a lot more with the ball, and they dominated the possession here. Zimbabwe were happy to just absorb the pressure and try and catch them on the counter, even though they did give it a go here. For you, Willard, what stands out when you look at some of these numbers?
Yeah, obviously, you know, if you look at the stats, it doesn't favor us. But at the end of the day, the boys put a fight. You understand? You don't need to take that away from them, and nobody gave them a chance, and they managed to take the game to at least 84 minutes. You know, it's a matter of getting back to the drawing board, fix all those small details, manage critical phase of the game, because matches are being decided in those moments. Maybe the board is getting tired, but the
crosses, though, you spoke about it, and Egypt had 17 crosses, and you felt that Zimbabwe should have managed that department better and stopped them from getting the ball in.
Obviously, result to Salah's goal, his ball over the top is coming more like a cross, and the crosses, you know, if you don't have Arubi, Takwara blocking the shots and everything, can you try to solve the problem prior to the ball goes inside the box? I felt like we should have dealt with the crosses. Also, that's game intelligent. As players, you can see maybe we're suffering this way, and there are overloads from Egypt. Can we try to nullify that? Can you try to block the cross? Can you put your board on the line so that you can make somebody to make a dribble, so that at least we can stand a second chance to defend? But crosses, remember, we also scored in a cross. Nobody wants the ball inside the box.
Yeah, and that's the game management, once again, that we were talking about. We're going to take a look at the first goal then of Zimbabwe and how it came. It came in the first half against all odds, against the run of play. Moment of brilliance here from Prince Dube. But Jalai, Coach Thabo, on the right, you highlighted him. He was really working hard. He was a workhorse there, and he's the one that lays it here for Prince Dube, who makes a great turn and finishes brilliantly.
Yeah, excellent assist from Jalai. Like we said, that he normally plays right back for Dynamos. So he adapted to right attacking midfield position and delivered, you know, for the Warriors in terms of application in defense and attack. But it is, for me, Prince Dube, who showed class in how he received the ball with a first touch and also scored with his weaker foot. This shows class and quality from a striker that has been representing Zimbabwe in East Africa.
Yeah, one of those that you can go to war with, Prince Dube, putting Zimbabwe ahead 1-0 at halftime. But there was a penalty shout also for Zimbabwe, and maybe they would have felt hard done. They felt it could have gone to VAR here. It was not just Willard Katsande also, but it was all of us watching. We felt that maybe there was a touch of the hand there. We're going to take a look at it also, as Zimbabwe kept on piling the pressure in that first half against Egypt, who had made all the running before that. And at halftime, they went into the break with the lead, and Willard was saying maybe that's where the game should have ended, but there had to be another one. But there was also an interesting observation that you made during the game. There was a pattern with Mo Salah giving Teenage Hadebe a difficult time there on that side. And you explained to us what was the thinking maybe of Teenage Hadebe playing on the left, but where would you have expected a Divine Lunga to have played there?
Yeah, obviously, you know, maybe the coaches with the players, you know, the health of the players comes to the part, and they opt to go with Teenage. But I felt like the minute the Egyptians have seen that Teenage characteristic is a centre back, and the overload there with Zizo, and even ball over the top from Fati. They were aiming Salah, hence they managed to get the second goal. And Tinichi also to know that you know that quick than Salah. Salah, world class player in terms of IQ.
Yes.
You should have also moved with the line, because you could see everybody was moving on the line. Maybe he was worried, like, if I leave you, maybe he's gonna be onside. But at the same time, you know, football is like that. Now, before Nani kicking foot, move the line so that you play him offside.
Okay, let's take a look at that opportunity then, or maybe that penalty shout here for Zimbabwe. We know exactly what Willard will think here, Coach Thabo. Maybe you can take us through this one. Did you see enough here in this scramble that Zimbabwe deserved a penalty, or at least a look at the VAR?
Yeah, no, I think it deserved a look at the VAR because it looked like there was a handball there, Tabiso.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the referee didn't even give an opportunity to get a VAR just for another view.
I think we're going to see it properly here. There it comes. There, hits the arm.
It definitely, you see, it hits the arm, and unfortunately, there was no VAR just to have a better opinion about it. And then I think here Zimbabwe were hard done, but very good action, aggression, pressure and counter-press moment from Zimbabwe in this situation.
And you know, Coach, in that moment, we were leading 1-0,
Yeah.
2-0. The whole complexion of the game changes. You never know. You could see even the coach of Egypt that he was panicking, hence to make a quick substitution. So, result to that moment, if the penalty is given, we converted, we never know what's going to happen. Even with the score second half, he was still going to grind a point.
Okay, we're going to have to wait for Soccer Zone for Victor Hlungwane to explain to us why they at least did not go to the VAR for that one, because it was not Swilo Saseka. But 1-0 at halftime to Zimbabwe. They came back in the second half also, and they made that change that concerned both Willard Katsande and Coach Thabo Senong, and Egypt kept coming here. But you wanted to highlight the block here, Willard, and this great defensive effort.
Yeah, my boy,
Takwara.
Gerald Takwara. I love him. I see myself in him. He's been my man of the match. You know, you've been there, present, putting those 1 versus 1 duels. He's been winning. So we need that kind of a character. You know, as Zimbabweans, characteristic, we are warriors. We fight. That's why we had to find the name warriors, because we know that we are fighting for our families back home. And if you can see something like this, I'm sure it inspires the entire team, so that when we go to the battle again to the next game, we are up to it.
Yeah, good reaction, because it was a difficult cross they put in by Mo Salah. It was an awkward cross that could have caught him off guard.
Yeah, absolutely. But then again, like Willard was saying, it's his positional awareness that helped him a lot, because he's able to see the man and he's able to see the ball as well. So once you position yourself that way, you are able to deal with a lot of crosses with ease.
Yeah, just to note that that moment was picked by Willard Katsande, because usually we look at goal-scoring chances where they almost scored, but we had to take out that block here for you to see it. But once again, great, another opportunity here for Zambia, but good save by Washington Arubi. Gets down very well, is also very alert here. As Egypt came knocking there, looking for that second goal. We saw Mamouche had been threatening throughout the entire game, but Washington Arubi once again very solid in between the sticks, even though later on he was caught out there at the end. Maybe not much he can do. Or maybe there was something he could have done. We're going to take a look at that goal. But at that stage, though, looking very, very good for Zimbabwe, still absorbing the pressure, withstanding and weathering the storm. And here's Boni then, who was introduced here. You spoke about the lack of a reference point, Willard, in the first half, and maybe that's what he gave the team. But could he have done a bit better there?
In that case, I wouldn't falter him, because if you take extra touch there, he's going to be isolated, because I mean there was a good rest defense from the Egyptian side. I think it was a good call from him to take a shot.
Yeah, and what did you make of his impact, Coach? Because he had another chance shortly after that. He seemed isolated, though, when he was there up front.
Yeah, like we said earlier with Willard, that Washington Navaya and Prince Dube showed to have a better relationship in terms of pressing, double pressing, and also in transition from defense to attack. So as soon as Navaya was taken, you could see there was not enough fluidity and rhythm now in the two strikers now. So now if you don't have two strikers who are not well coordinated in terms of pressing collectively. And then that means now the build-up for the Egyptian side is going to be easy by just bypassing the first line of press of the Zimbabwean team. And then this is where now Egypt started to gain momentum with regard to playing through the threats, because the press now was not as fluid as when they had Dube and Navai.
Yeah, and the equalizer then eventually came for Egypt. They were piling on the pressure on Zimbabwe, with Mamouche looking very, very dangerous there, looking like a real threat, even though he wasn't as lively in the first half. And eventually it came down the left-hand side at this time. Ball over the top. Coach, what a finish though.
Yeah, look, the job was always to just stretch, God knows, Murira wide out and then exploit the half space position. Then that's where Omar Mohamed Mamouche exploited the space. And then again, if God knows has been beaten, can we provide cover? So cover was not there, cover was not laid. So principles of defending were not applied, you know. Poor pressure on the ball, no cover, no balance. And then they left Washington Arobi alone, isolated. A keeper that has been trying his best to help the team, keep the team in the game, was isolated, and then he couldn't do anything. I mean, that's a top goal from a world-class striker who's playing for Man City.
Is it a disappointing one to consider? You think there's not much they could have done?
It's a disappointment to consider. If you look into what coach is saying, if the ball carrier, there's no pressure on the ball, kill the space behind.
Yeah.
You know, all the time to drive with the ball.
Yes, if the heads are up, kill the space, because he's looking beyond. So, and also, if something like that happen, we don't want it to happen. But how do we solve it? Godwin is out, the center back quickly come out, then the center mid, Marvelous or Fabish slot in for temporarily to be the third center back, so that we create, because those are the areas where Egypt were finding joy. The half spaces,
Yes.
those spaces behind the defense, and they draw in, like I was talking about Teenage, they draw him in, they look for that space. So if you look into similarities of these goals, it's more like similar.
Yeah, and obviously Egypt had the momentum after this then, and they were looking now for the winner at this time. Hamdi, very lively also here. The substitutes also are combining, and Syed with the cross there. Anmat also coming down that left-hand side of Teenage Hadebe. Would have probably felt that he should have done better, Zizo, there, also with that header, coach.
Yeah, like Willard was saying, look at both full-backs of Egypt from right to left. They were overloading, overlapping, just to create offensive overloads and also to provide a lot of crosses. Because for them, like we said before, this is how you look at the goal analysis of Egypt. Most of their goals are coming from wide areas via crosses. So now that was what was supposed to be done by the Zimbabwean Warriors, to say, let's deny them cross by applying pressure and also provide cover, but also have numbers inside the box with a combination of the two center backs, and then of course Fabish dropping also to create overloads, and Marvelous Nagamba creating overloads in order to win the second balls and maybe the third balls. But this is where I thought Zimbabwe didn't do enough to stop those crosses from coming from wide channels.
Yeah, and Willard at 1-1 felt that they should have protected that point and try and take the point home, but they didn't. They brought in an attacker for a defender, and eventually the pressure told Willard there with Mo Salah. I was looking to rediscover his form, making the difference. Once again, getting in front of Teenage Hadeb.
Yeah, you know, this kind of players, Mo Salah, you cannot give them space just like that. They're world class. They utilize on that because he was quiet the majority of the game. In those moments where it's critical phase of the game, they just come in and give Egyptians 3 points. Should we have done better? Yes, we should have done better. Maybe we should have cleared the lines, a little bit of the leadership, game management. I think it was needed. Should have avoided this kind of goals. But what else can we do? We have to look at ourselves, pick ourselves, and move on to the next one.
Yeah, and as disappointed as you will be, obviously the Egyptians are happy that Mo Salah has scored after his troubles that he had at Liverpool, and he is finally now trying to rediscover his form, trying to get back into that Liverpool starting lineup if he does want to go back. And what a way then to lead his team to victory against Zimbabwe. But heartbreak for Zimbabwe at the moment, though they felt that they should have got something out of this game. It's finished 2-1 to Egypt then, just like Bafana Bafana. Also 3 points in this group. It is the same group as Bafana Bafana as well as Angola, and the teams will meet again on Friday. But there's still more coming up. We'll talk more about what else we can expect in this group, and even tomorrow here on SABC Sport as far as the Africa Cup of Nations is concerned. So the Pharaohs of Egypt up and running then at this AFCON, but Zimbabwe losing their opening match. They've yet to get out of a group of AFCON in 5 attempts, and let's see if they can get out of this group here. And of course, this is the same group with the mighty Bafana Bafana, the pride of the nation, beating Angola by 2-1 in the earlier game. Zambia holding Mali to a draw. Mali started that game as heavy favorites, but Zambia with a late equalizer through the Leicester City man, Petsin Daka. Let's take a look at what the log looks like and also what we can expect as we go along in this AFCON. It is Bafana Bafana top of the log. Is that the top two as you see it, Coach Thabo Senong, even before the games in this group?
Yeah, no, it's the top two that we accepted to be there. But I still feel that Zimbabwe can still surprise Angola, especially the performance that they shown today. And Egypt, you could see their quality. They can still create problems for South Africa. And then, so for me, it's still early to say who are the two teams, Willard, to come out of the group.
Yes.
So it's still a little bit early. Zimbabwe are still in it. Egypt are still in it, and of course, South Africa, who started very well, they are also still in it.
And the same in Group A, also with Morocco, the host nation, #1 ranked team on the continent, with an expecting home crowd. They're expecting them to lift the crown. Mali, always dark horses going into this tournament. Zambia, very unpredictable, but they were able to hold Mali to a draw. And Comoros maybe is the team that everybody will be targeting in this group. This is what we can expect tomorrow. It is a big, big day today, actually. Jeez, it's been that good. We even forgot we went to the next day. DR Congo up against Benin. Senegal, many people's favorites, facing Botswana, who have a South African coach in Murena Ramurebudi. Are they also your favorites, Senegal, or who are your favorites, Willard, here?
Of course, Senegal, they get the tag, but me, I like Congo.
Oh, you like DR Congo for this one. Okay, Nigeria also have a point to prove against a Tanzania team that you would know very well, Coach Thabo. What is the expectations of Tanzania?
We're talking about the Nigeria that is still was still disappointed with their World Cup qualifying matches. So I think Nigeria will have an edge if you look at their hunger to prove themselves that they are still the powerhouse in Africa. So it's going to be a very tough one for Tanzania.
Yeah, remaining matches for Bafana Bafana. It is Egypt on Friday, and the last one, we hope Willard Katsande will be here for that one. Zimbabwe up against Bafana Bafana. But before we go, though, there have been a lot of questions about the absence of Marshall Munetsi, and you could feel his absence in this team. What do you make of the situation, of his injury situation with Wolves?
Obviously, you know, Marshall Munetsi is not just a player who's trying to make it into national team. He's a face of Zimbabwe national team at the moment, you know. And we've seen it with Hakim, we've seen it with Aubameyang. You understand? The team carries them with the injury. You know, the fact that they're going to be there, standing in front of the team, not giving tactics, but to say, guys, I'm not with you because I'm not healthy. But go there and give your heart to our people. That on its own can even drive Padera, the young boy who's looking up to him, even the dressing room. You know, Marshall Munetsi was going to be the figure. Who knows where he was going to recover for the second game. And these kind of games, we are starting as underdogs. We have to defend in order for us to achieve our objective. Like
just a yes or no, have you seen enough for Egypt to go all the way from Egypt?
Look, not yet, because Zimbabwe had moments where they dominated Egypt on transition play. So I still think Egypt has to fix some of the areas in their game, but they have the experience.
Yeah. Otherwise, if they don't, coach will change his tie then from red to somewhere else. But that's where we're going to leave it for now. Then it's been a wonderful day, a triple header here on SABC Sport. And there is more tomorrow from the Africa Cup of Nations. But from me, Willard Katsande, the former captain of Zimbabwe, Coach Thabo Senong, who's also coached at AFCON with the under-20s and Bafana Bafana. That's where we leave the broadcast for now. It is Babaini, maybe Sanbonani, because it is good morning.